The new Hearthstone expansion has finally been announced, and if you're a lover of vampires, murder mysteries, and everyone's favorite underwater detective, Murloc Holmes, this expansion, Murder at Castle Nathria, is going to leave you in suspense. And if not, then you need to take a look at this new legendary card. And before you ask, yes, it's already in your collection. Introducing Prince Renathal, a 3-mana 3/4 legendary. Your deck size and starting health are 40. Just take a minute to think about all the possibilities of what this card can bring to the table. We have never seen a card single-handedly change the foundation of what deck building means. I literally think this is the biggest shakeup to deck building that we've seen since Highlander cards were pushed harder in the Year of the Dragon. You can choose to run your standard 30-card list, but if you're struggling to cut cards or feel like your deck just needs a little bit more gas to beat late-game strategies, suddenly you can slap this Prince in your deck and you don't have to think twice about it. The effect of this card is obviously insane, but how good is this effect really? Will this mechanic see meaningful play, or will it just be another forgotten Hearthstone card? On one hand, Hearthstone can be a quick tempo game where matches can end by turn 5 with decks like Mind Rogue being popular. Everyone's favorite deck to play against, am I right? Adding another 10 cards into your deck dilutes the chances of you consistently hitting the most powerful turns that this deck can produce. Your chances of hitting Snowfall Graveyard, your draw engines, as well as the minion counts themselves can be significantly cut depending on what additional cards you wish to add to the deck. In aggressive metagames, it can be difficult to imagine a world where the Prince will have his time to rule. Besides, in card games, having more cards does not necessarily equate to having more power, but it can definitely make you feel more powerful. However, there are times that Hearthstone can take forever. On the other hand, if we have another control metagame on the rise like we experienced with Control Warrior recently, having 40 cards could very well be the new norm for Hearthstone, and that is a potentially scary thought to have if you are a budget player who is already struggling to build 30-card decks. If 40-card decks become the new norm, it could potentially scare off a more casual player base that already feels like they're running behind and completing their collections. But with all of this in mind, it is extremely important to ponder how deck building is going to be the most interesting conversation surrounding archetypes from now on. Rather than, is this the best deck in the game, now players are going to be asking themselves, should we add another 10 cards to the list? Adding yet another element to the puzzle of solving the Hearthstone metagame. Remember the good old days of Archivist Elysiana? Where control players were able to solo any deck that they took to Fatigue because it was impossible to lose against somebody sinking 10 cards further into Fatigue? What if the Prince allows for a similar feeling? Having access to 40 cards means that running meaningful tech cards may not feel like a complete waste of space when you don't see these matchups often. And remember our good old friend Kazakhstan? Yeah, he's still in the game, by the way. And now the idea of running at least 4 dragons isn't nearly as intimidating as before, similarly to running more tech cards. Card packages are going to be the most important part of deck building from now on, because with 40 cards possible, the possibility of combining archetypes such as a dragon package can suddenly give any deck in Hearthstone the chance it needs to play a late game strategy with Kazakhstan in their lists. Which is why I'm having such a hard time evaluating this card to see if it's bait or not. And we haven't even talked about the possibility of Reno decks with 40 different cards. Or the fact that this card also gives you 40 health, so it doesn't even really seem like there's that much of a downside to running 40 cards, especially if you have such a solid archetype that can make this not into a weakness. Especially in matchups or in deck archetypes that can heal themselves very consistently like Holy Paladin or Warlock or even Priest archetypes. Think about Warriors being able to have all this armor gain with 40 health on top of this. This is just a whole nother can of worms that we can discuss in the comments below on whether or not you guys actually believe that this guy is bait or not, because I don't think that he's bait. I really don't. Granted, Reno decks were pretty much unplayable during the Voyage to the Sunken City expansion, but if the Highlander archetype is given any more support, it could change the future of Hearthstone forever. The idea of the perfect 30 in Hearthstone could literally become a meme from now on. But for the innovative deck builders of this game, this card is going to change how you approach Hearthstone for the rest of your life. Needless to say, I am extremely excited for the new expansion, Murder at Castle Nathria, and I hope you guys will join me for its release on August 2nd. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, and we'll see you for the next one.